Also find them.
Before I even face the fight, not moved by what I see. I walk by faith and not by sight. All power and authority is given unto me. 'Cause when you're on God's side, oh, we win, we win. Overcomers. Nothing can stop us now. Hey, we win, you declare. We proclaim the victory, yeah. Overcomers, we win, yeah. Nothing can stop us now. We win. We know in God there's no spirit of fear. We'll never feel defeat because He's here. The race is not given to the swift, neither the battle to the strong, but he that endureth to the end. We win. Woo! Come on. We win, say. We win. We win, yeah. We win, yeah. Every area of the life. Yeah, we win. Overcomers. In our schools, on our job. Nothing can stop us now. In our marriage, in our finances. We are, yeah. More than a conqueror. We dominate. We have the victory. Yeah. We
Welcome. Hello. Good evening, everyone. This is Curtis, and you have tuned in to In the End We Win with Curtis. We are in for another excellent show on tonight. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Right now, I've got a couple of things that I'd like to go over. First and foremost, Vox Wave now features a streaming radio media player on our website's front page where local artists can get their music played 24/7. For more information on getting your music in rotation or to perform live at the studio, please contact Reg Gaskins. His phone number is 240-832-4455. Android users, the Vox Wave app is now available in the Google Play Store. Download the app today on your Android devices to listen in and view programs. Also, business owners, if you're looking for a place to advertise your business and promote your products and services, VoxWave is the right place. We have over 10,000 views a day and 70,000 listeners a month. For more information, once again, contact Reg Gaskins at 240-832-4455. Again, my name is Curtis Austin. I'll be your host for this evening. Right now, we are going to go to a word from our sponsor. So please tune in on the other side, and then we will have a quick video of our guest for tonight. Thank you, and thanks for tuning in.
Hello? Girl, I just went to a major dealership and got ripped off on a luxury car.
Well, I just got a great deal on a luxury car at Star Imports in Camp Springs, Maryland. They took their time with me, they treated me with respect, and they helped me find my perfect car.
Hey, DMV, looking for a unique car buying experience? Tired of high-pressure sales? Good news. At Star Imports, you'll be delighted with our boutique-style car buying experience. We're committed to treating you with the utmost respect, even if you have less than perfect credit. Check out our impressive selection of pre-owned BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, Jaguars, and other imports starting at $5,988. For fast online guaranteed credit approvals, go to starimports.com. That's STARIMPORTS.com. Or call 301-423-8000. Star Imports, home of the boutique-style car buying experience. Located in Camp Springs, Maryland, off exit 7B off the Beltway, next to Red Lobster.
Natasha Paris Saint-Amand was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, to Haitian immigrants. As a graduate of Temple University School of Education in Philadelphia, Natasha Paris holds a master's degree in counseling psychology and a bachelor's of arts degree in psychology from Baruch College. She has combined her love for counseling individuals who have experienced trauma of all kinds and or suffer from low self-esteem with her trained experience as a beauty consultant and makeup artist. Natasha Paris believes that etiquette coaching is a nice blend of the two worlds.
It is all about your smile, because smiling, it allows people to want to engage with you. And then if that person is not feeling up to par, your smile alone will allow them to want to have a conversation with you.
Natasha Paris offers the need to beautify and refine not only what is on the outside, but what is primarily on the inside.
People want to see your face, they want to see your smile, and they want to hear what you have to say. But if they're focused on your long lashes, the lashes when they go to the nail salon and they offer a deal, you get your nails and your lashes done together. And it's really big and it looks like it's a whole lot. We don't want to do that.
She trains individuals to become confident in the areas of walking, talking, clothing presentation, skin, makeup, professionalism, and fine dining etiquette.
Well, everyone can benefit from etiquette. You're talking about every race, every ethnicity, from 5 to 99. And so don't feel like etiquette training is something that you're beyond. We want people, when they meet you, to see you and to hear you. We don't want people to get distracted by your lashes or your accessories or your colors. We want confident people. Most confident people will close deals a lot faster than those who are not confident. And etiquette training, Freedom Revealed, is all about liberating individuals and making them want to become better people, right? And empowering them to do better.
So, good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Curtis, and you have tuned in to In the End We Win with Curtis. My guest for tonight, as you guys heard, is Natasha Paris Saint-Amand.
That's right.
Did I say that right?
You did. Saint-Amand.
Amand. What is that? Is that French?
That is Haitian Creole.
Haitian Creole.
Yes, my parents are from Haiti, Port-au-Prince, Gonaive, and we are proud to be Haitian. And I was born in Brooklyn, so I'm Haitian American, but I love my country and I love my city, Brooklyn, New York.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's a bit about where you're from and your
Yes.
background, but give us a little bit of information about why you're here tonight. I wanted to have this show
Absolutely.
about mental health. And you and I met maybe 2-3 years ago when I was employed or contracted out with a company here in the city,
yes,
where I was assisting individuals who were dealing with mental health challenges, seeking employment.
Absolutely.
And you were very active, and you had been there obviously prior to me. But
yes,
tell the viewers exactly what you do in the course of your day.
Okay, so I am a clinical administrator, and I'm also an etiquette therapist. And so when you and I met, I managed a group of individuals who work in the community with those with mental health challenges.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I had done on a consistent basis throughout the day is managing the team and instructing them and giving them supervision on how to deal with individuals who they come in contact with who have had, you know, trauma of all kinds, diagnoses from as, you know, as small as adjustment disorder to someone who's schizophrenic, right? And being able to support them and allow them to become functional and stable, right? That's important because those individuals need opportunities, and they can go past what the society says that they are and that they cannot do. And so what you were doing was giving them all of the instructions that they need in order to get a job and to sustain the job.
Correct.
Yes.
So this is a critical time to talk about mental health. Unfortunately, because of a recent traumatic experience for some folks down in Parkland, Florida, we had another mass shooting, and now it is being once again blamed on a mental health piece that the young man supposedly had. But there were signs that this young man had exhibited that maybe weren't acted upon by the adults in his life. What's interesting to me, though, Natasha, is, and I'm just about 50 years old, and
you look great.
I appreciate it. There were a lot of things that had occurred in my upbringing, but I never really heard this mental health piece until recently. Now it seems like it's more mainstream. What happened all of a sudden to make it a hot topic, a hot button, if you will? Is there any one thing that happened, or how would you assess why now all of a sudden we're seeing and hearing so much more about mental health issues?
Well, you know what? It's not that it all of a sudden. It's been going on for a very long time. People have become more aware of mental illness because oftentimes people were just labeling it crazy or, right? That's the word that I don't like. I don't prescribe to that. I don't like people using that word because it gets, it's a negative connotation that comes along with it, right?
Nobody wants to be doing that.
Right, absolutely. And so what I would say was it's been around for a very long time, but I think that people now, with the internet, the world is now a lot smaller. Okay.
Definitely.
All right. And so diagnoses, when you're talking about people who are ill, it's never been placed on the forefront because physically, if you're ill, you can actually see it.
Correct.
Right? If you have a disability, if you're walking with a limp, or if you're an amputee, you can see it, right? But when you're talking about mental illness, you don't see it because it hides itself in open proximities, right? It hides itself. And so unless there's a trauma that triggers it or a situation that happens where you're actually able to see the symptoms, then people say, okay, what's going on here? And so what I would say is that what attributed to this large amount of attention to people with mental illness is the fact that it can no longer be ignored.
What?
Right? It can no longer be ignored.
Because of these mass shootings, or because of just the numbers have far exceeded what we had thought about?
I would say the latter. I think that there are more people dealing with mental illness, more people dealing with stressors in their lives. And I'm not to discount that stressors were not ever available at the time 20, 30 years ago. But what I would say is that it's more stress. It's more, even though technology has made life simpler and has made life easier, what it has done, like I said, the world is a lot smaller. So people can be in their home being bullied, right, without having any interaction with some physical interaction, but they can be bullied when you're talking about young adolescents who are bullied just by, they have it on their phone. They're being bullied by someone calling them names, being, you know, whether it's Snapchat, Facebook, or Instagram, whatever those social media outlets are, they're being bullied right in their home. And they don't often verbalize that things are happening, right? Because society says, particularly for men, right? Shut up. Sorry to use that word, but shut up, suck it up, and get over it, right?
Be a man, that's right.
Yeah, be a man, get over it, right? But individuals have feelings, right? And, you know, and what we're noticing is that most of these mass shootings are happening, right? And who are the perpetrators? Males. True. Many of them are males. True. Right? And so when you look at it from that perspective, it is, it's disheartening. Right?
Very,
because when they ask for help, they're either put to the side or said, you're going to deal with it. You're going to be okay. When in fact, they're really not okay. And usually what they'll say is, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. But then more and more information, or I should say more and more traumas occur, which causes them to get to a breaking point where they say, I can't do this anymore.
Wow. So what are some of the common diseases or traumas that would cause someone to have a mental health challenge or be challenged by mental health?
Well, you know, according to research, I mean, one of the most common is depression, right? Because depression affects everyone, right? When I say everyone, everyone goes through everyone goes through sadness, right?
Is that depression?
Nope. And let me just say that what makes depression is there's a spectrum, right? You go from your high to your low. And what's considered to be major depression is when you have an inability to come back to the middle ground, right? Because it's like from one scale of 1 to 10, right? Everyone gets sad, right?
Sure.
But when you are sad for more than 2 weeks, when you're sad for more than 30 days, and you're finding it difficult to come back to your normal level of functioning, that's when it becomes a problem. So what we're noticing, I mean, we have to really understand what depression is, right? So depression is one, right? Because if you don't deal with your grief, if you've been through grief, if you have not dealt with your trauma, right, it can eventually turn into something that is long lasting. And this is why I say that my clients, because I also have a private practice, I work with individuals, and my specialty is traumatic, incidents, people dealing with trauma, and teaching them how to get over that, right? Sure. Providing them with coping skills. And I often say that it's so vital for you when you're not feeling like, if you're feeling like the sadness is lasting a lot longer than it needs to be, or I would hate to say it needs to be, but it is lasting longer than what's considered to be normal, or if you find that you're not able to get up and go to work, if you're finding that your ability to function has now been interrupted or disrupted, that's when you ask for help.
Right.
Right? And with regard to the other diagnoses, anxiety is one. When you're consistently anxious and you feel like, you can't get over your anxiety, right? Because there's a normal state, but then there's an abnormal state, which then causes mental illness. When I say mental illness, some of the mental illness that we have is something that can also be treated with medication, in addition to counseling. Right? Medication. I know. To medicate or not to medicate. Right. I know that's one of your questions. But again, right, we have to look at every person individually. I cannot say this is a diagnosis for everyone dealing with depression. I cannot say that this is the treatment, right? Sure, the treatment goals, right, for everyone dealing with bipolar or someone dealing with anxiety or any major, major diagnosis.
PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Everyone, we have, because as a clinician, we are trained to provide special needs for those who are in need, right? And what you do is it has to be person-centered. You have to look at that person as a person, look at what their strengths are, look at what their needs are, and then develop a treatment plan that will support them.
Wow. Isn't there another one? I can't recall the name. The weather has a lot to do with it. If it's gray outside and the weather and you're stuck in the house, am I on the right track?
I'm not sure.
Gray.
So their mood is predicated on what's going on outdoors.
Yeah.
I mean, that can go into many other diagnoses, but not that I'm aware of that there's one in particular that's focused on the weather that changes a person's mood.
Okay, I thought I had heard or read somewhere that when the sun isn't out for a period of time and it's just gray, it's cloudy, that your mood is down because you're not getting nutrients from the sun, you're stuck in the house.
Sure. And you're saying that may cause levels of sadness and depression?
Is that real? Is that...
You're talking about seasonal depression? Is that what you're referring to?
I'm trying to find out. I don't
because,
know.
I mean, we know that in the wintertime, people are more sad, and less uppity and less energetic, right? We know that the weather definitely plays a part in people's mood and their ability to function, right? Right, we do know that. And so your question is that real or is that...
Yeah, I was curious because I thought I had read that somewhere that people's moods obviously tend to go down when the sun isn't out there. It's
That's
gray
true.
outside, it's rainy outside, they're stuck in the house, and there's nothing to be excited about. So when you mention seasonal, now we talk about winter. The show that I had last week, I had my guest on, and she was talking about transitioning. Her husband as well as her mom had transitioned, life, right?
Okay.
And the word is out about around the holidays, there are a lot of people who are a lot more depressed.
Absolutely.
Is that seasonal kind of tied into that, or is it just about the fact that they've lost a loved one and now it's the holidays and that loved one is no longer here?
Yeah, usually that's the case, right? We are very conscientious as clinicians to really pay attention to the seasons because the seasons are not always festive and a happy place for many people. Because, of course, like you alluded to, when the holidays are around, it's usually indication of family, right? Everyone is together, everyone is joyful. However, when you're dealing with someone who have lost either both parents or friends or, siblings, whoever that may have been, it reminds them not of the season being joyful, but of a season being of grief. Right? And so we have to be very mindful during those times that individuals are not always at their greatest, right?
Sure. So for the sake of the individuals who are watching the show tonight, what are some of the signs to watch? Obviously, no one wants to hear about another elementary school or high school being, targeted, right? So, and now it's starting to come out that there were a lot of signs that this young man had exhibited. However, no adult really stepped in to take the charge. What can we do? What is it out there that we as just common folk, common citizens, it may be a loved one that we're living with, what is it that we need to be on the lookout for?
Of course, and it's unfortunate that it took this situation, this traumatic and tragic situation for people to begin to talk about mental illness. And what's sad is that we are not being as proactive when it comes to supporting individuals who are dealing with mental illness. It's usually more from a reactive approach, right? We're acting as of what happened and let's do something, right? And I'm glad that the conversation is being held, and I hope that it will continue to be a conversation or a topic of conversation, you know. And so the signs that I often say to look out for is if the person, for example, was a student and he or she was achieving like all A's, right? And then you notice that the A's had turned into C's, and quickly the C's turned into D's and F's. That's a tall sign that
something is going on.
Something is happening.
Okay.
If that person lost interest in the things that they really enjoy doing, and you notice that they are choosing not to do those things or those activities, then absolutely, that is another sign.
But and I don't mean to cut you off.
There's many signs, right? Yes.
But isn't that a part of growing up, though? Isn't some of that just being a teenager? Oh no, I'm fine. I just want to go to my room and stay in my room. And you know, I know when I was coming up, I'd be on the telephone and you know, just in my room on the telephone for hours.
For hours, right?
Right.
And so, but your activity changed. It did not go from really being active in something and then to be sleeping all day, right? So your energy level switched positions. Noticeably, absolutely. But it wasn't that you went from playing football to now being on the phone, and now you're no longer on the phone, you're sleeping all day. Right? And you are not sharing information. Your mood has changed. Your posture has also changed. Your poise has also changed. Your dress has also changed. You used to be very clean cut, but now you're choosing to let, you know, your hygiene.
I missed my barbershop appointment. You gonna pull that out?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And you're looking at what the person used to do, what they're no longer doing, right? They're not taking any consideration or thought into their presentation, and they used to at one point. So these are all tall tale signs of what's happening. But if and usually when there's situations like this, they are precursors. Something has happened, right? And everyone is going back, and they, in retrospect, I should say, they're thinking back, and they're saying, wait a minute, something happened. He called out for help, but no one answered. He said something to someone, and no one did anything about it. Right. It doesn't happen overnight. It's progressive. And we have to be very conscious and very conscientious that when you see these school shootings, something has changed, but someone has chosen not to listen.
Oh, wow.
Someone has chosen to ignore that individual, whether it's an adolescent or an adult. You know, and suicide, that's the biggest thing now. I mean, you know, people taking their own lives and saying, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't feel like I'm competent. I don't feel like I'm worthy.
Where does that come from?
It comes from feeling like there's nowhere out. There's no way out of this situation. Like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing that anyone can do. Right? And the reason why I came on this show is because I feel so strongly about mental illness and the rate of mental illness, the rate of people feeling like there's nothing that they can do if they are overwhelmed, if they are feeling extremely frustrated and feeling like there's no one that can hear them or no one that will listen. And I want your viewers to know that, yes, there are people that want to help. And there are people that will listen to you, but you just have to say something.
Sure.
You have to say something. And if you're in a crisis situation, the best thing for you to do is go to the hospital. Go to the hospital.
The hospital.
Yes, because if you had a broken arm, what would you do? You wouldn't just try to heal it yourself, right? Right?
But is there a hotline number or something that people...
There's a crisis hotline number that I do have. I don't have it by memory, but there's a crisis hotline that I can definitely, when we come back from our break, I'll make sure that information is provided.
Actually, I think this topic, it deserves that we just go through the break, if you're okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
We can pull up the crisis hotline number at the end and give it out.
Absolutely. I have it actually in my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it programmed in my phone.
Oh, we've got a phone call, and I was going to say.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening. Are you there? Caller? Okay, we'll catch you on the other side. So that's a good point. If you are interested in calling in and being a part of our conversation, please do so by calling in at 240-719-2560. You will be live, so if you would do us a favor and turn down however you are viewing the show, please turn the volume down on that and listen to your phone when you call in, and you will be live with myself and Natasha, and we will get any of your questions, your comments, or your concerns addressed. So I encourage you to call in. The bottom line is that as the show's title is, We Win with Curtis, we want all of you all to win in the end, right? So if you're battling with something, if you know of someone nearby you in your circle who is dealing with some challenges and they're acting a little strange, a little different, please listen to the show, take some notes, and then get help. You know, give us a call here to the show. Natasha will give out some contact information at the end of the show. We definitely just want to make sure that you guys are getting the help and the assistance that you need. All right?
What's that number again? Can you repeat that number?
Sure. It's 240-719-2560. So if you want to call in, 240-719-2560. Whose show is this?
This is your show.
All right.
Yes, but I
right,
want
so-
viewers to call in because it's a hot topic. Absolutely.
So no, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your zeal, and I know that in meetings that I have attended, you always had that, you know, that you exhibited, you showed that excitement to want to help. Absolutely. So what are you seeing every day? I know I had a select client base, but I think because of your position, you were in management, right?
That's correct.
You probably saw and/or was referred by folks to take cases to, and you saw a lot more cases than perhaps myself. What are some of the things that, and you know, obviously not putting out any names, but some of the stuff that's going on right here in Washington, D.C. that you see?
Well, the number one thing, you know, just it falls right under mental illness is homelessness in the district. That's very, very big. Because, and I wouldn't say because of gentrification or anything like that, but the rates of the homes has shot up, right? And so
the cost of the homes.
I would say yes, the cost of the homes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for saying that. The cost of the homes has increased dramatically. So it's making it very difficult for people to afford a place to live.
I think we have a caller.
Okay.
Good evening. You're on the line with Curtis and Natasha.
Hello.
Good evening. Okay. So once again, guys, we encourage you to call in. We'd like to take your call, but do us a favor. Don't listen to however you're watching the show tonight. Please listen to your phone when you call in and you hear us pick up. I'm going to respond and you'll be live. So turn your volume down and listen to your phone only. So by the
And there's one more thing also.
The phone number is 240-719-2560.
No, I was going to continue where we left off.
Sure.
The third piece is trauma. Trauma. Many individuals, I've lived in several different cities over the years. I'm originally from New York, Brooklyn, New York. I've lived in Philadelphia. I've lived outside of New Orleans, and now I'm in this area. And even though the demographic of the individuals are different, but the issues are the same. The issues are the same.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so trauma is a major issue. People have become so desensitized by, you know, the killings, the murders, the, you know, the molestations, right? The rape, all of that. And you're talking about individuals who've been through all of this.
Sure.
And they come to many of the mental health agencies with bags, you know, and when Erykah Badu came out with that song, Bag Lady, it's real.
Sure. I think we have a caller on the line.
Yes.
Good evening, caller. You're on the line with Curtis of In the End We Win.
Hi, my name is Lori. How are you?
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori. Wonderful.
I'm a big fan of yours, Natasha.
Hello. Oh, hi, Lori. How are you, Miss Lori TV?
I'm doing well. I have a question.
Yes.
I wanted to know, I know I've been cut off on and off with my service, so I hope that this question was not addressed already, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
No, we hear you fine.
I'm wondering if you think that it's common now that a lot of school shootings and even workplace shootings and a lot of the violent events have been going on in our country lately, if mental illness is being used as a crutch to protect those who are really just violent and maybe not mentally ill. And is there a way to tell the difference?
That's a great question.
That's a very great question, Lori. Well, you know what? There is a way to tell a difference, but you have some people who are very good actors, right? They understand that if they use the mental insanity, right, insanity defense, that the chances of them getting less time is greater. However, I would say that mental illness, and I would say it's difficult to really distinguish the difference between those who are just violent and mentally ill. But the fine difference is people who are mentally ill can also be very violent, right, if they're not treated. I hope that makes sense, right? And so in order for them to get the treatment that they need, you have to deal with the mental illness. What would make you want to take 17 lives? What would make you want to harm an individual? Like, there's a lack of empathy there. And when you're saying a lack of empathy, there's a lack of sensitivity there, which then says that something is not right. Something is not going well in that person's head, right? And so the question then says, okay, well, if they're mentally ill, are they not violent? No, it kind of works hand in hand. But then are people who are all violent not mentally ill? Like it kind of blurs together. And that's my thought, because there's something happening that's not supposed to be happening.
Sure.
With that individual. I hope that makes sense.
She got cut off. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a good point. And I remember coming up, and we actually had hospitals that would take in mentally ill persons. Like St. Eve's right here in Washington, D.C. I know you didn't grow up in D.C., but you're probably familiar
St. Elizabeth's.
with St. Elizabeth's, right.
Yes.
It's now been converted. Where are those people going, though?
And again, that is one of the biggest issues right now. Because I remember also when a person was hospitalized, and I'll get to your question in a moment, when a person was hospitalized, they were stepped down into a partial program, a program that would provide levels of support for them. Like it's like a step down program, teaching them the coping skills. They're not in a maximum level of security, but they are going to a program that will help them identify what their issues are, to help them develop coping skills. And then after a month or two in that location, because they will go there at 9 and they would leave at 4.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, after their time is up, right, they deem that they're able to go into an outpatient program, they step down. What we've noticed over the years is that there are no longer these partial programs available for individuals. So they go into a psychiatric ward, mental hospital, right? And soon as after 2 weeks, maybe less, due to insurance, costs, things of that nature, budgets being cut, they're in that hospital, sometimes maybe for just 48 hours. And then they're sent right back into the community. Really, and with a prescription. That's it. 48 hours with a prescription and told to find your way, right? We do have social workers who will connect them to outpatient programs and get them the level of support, right? A discharge plan for them.
Sure.
But because these social workers are inundated with so many clients coming in or patients coming into these hospitals, it's sometimes hard to keep track of what's happening. So you have these individuals going into the hospital and going right back out. And what we also notice is that people who are ill use the hospital as a place to live.
Wow. Wow, I think we've got another caller.
Yes.
Good evening, caller. You're on the line with Curtis and Natasha. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm calling into the radio show.
Hi, you have a question or a comment?
I don't. I'm just happy to just now be calling. So I was thinking I could sit on the line and listen, but I'm not.
Yeah, we're going to need you to either you can pull it up online on your computer or on your phone. You can go to VoxWave, that's VoxWav.com. And push the play button, and you'll see us live, and you'll be able to hear us. But the phone is going to be reserved for individuals who want to call in, ask questions, or make comments or suggestions.
All right.
Okay. But thanks for tuning in, and thanks for the attempt. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. So we've got about 20 minutes left, Natasha, and I'd be remiss to, if we got out of here, and I'd tell you, there's so much more about this topic that we haven't even scratched the surface, obviously. But I know that you have something that you're doing. Is that dedicated just to individuals who are challenged with mental health illnesses?
Well, no. Okay, so for your viewers, let me just say this. I am also a clinical administrator. This is what I do, and this is my passion. But I'm also a etiquette therapist. That's my title, right?
Etiquette therapist.
Etiquette therapist. And so, very catchy, right? You like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I teach individuals. I'm a certified etiquette trainer and coach. And so I teach individuals about presentation and building their self-confidence, right? And I utilize my skill, as they had seen in the very beginning, my promo video, I utilize my skills of teaching individuals. I was also a stylist, a makeup artist, right? And I've used those skills to support individuals who are in need of a presentation fix-up, okay? When I say presentation fix-up, teaching individuals skincare, posture, poise, how to walk, how to talk, how to shake a hand, and how to leave a lasting impression. Many of my contracts have been working with individuals who are in need of employment, right? And when you talk about whether it is only focused to one group of demographic or one group of, individuals, I say it's open to everyone. And so when I say as an etiquette therapist, I teach the physical, right? But from a therapeutic perspective, I also teach individuals about being their best self, being very confident, knowing who they are, right? And walking in that, right? Because you can be dressed up, but as soon as you open up your mouth, people will tell what's going on within you, right? And so if you're not able to control or to cope and to manage whatever is happening within you, you can be dressed up all you want, but you're not going to be able to either get the job or even sustain the job or move into different arenas without being, stereotyped or, told that you couldn't get what it is that you wanted, right? Sure. And so I provide support. I did an actual level of like a workshop for homeless women. Right? And people say, why homeless women? I say, because they also need an opportunity.
That's good.
They need an opportunity to know, because I'm going to be honest, many people have not been taught how to stand up straight, right? Right? And how to enunciate and open up their mouth and speak, and also sharing with them, like, you are someone, right? And therapeutically, I understand you, I empathize with you, and I'm going to teach you coping skills when you feel like someone is saying something to hurt you. But in all actuality, they're not saying it to hurt you, they're saying it to help you. But because you have mental health issues or because you're dealing with trauma, you automatically are on the defense, and you want to curse them out real quick, right?
Sure.
So
is there a parallel between a lack of confidence then and mental health?
No, yes and no, right? Because you don't necessarily have to have a mental health diagnosis in order to not feel confident.
Exactly.
Right,
Okay.
right. Because confidence is something that is taught. Right? And confidence is something that innately some people just feel it, regardless of, their situations, regardless of where they've come from. They just know that regardless of what has happened to me in my past, I know that today I'm going to rule the world.
So for an example, let's take this gentleman who just created this issue down in Florida 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Could he had gone through your etiquette class and perhaps changed his thought process on that heinous act that he did?
I wouldn't say that I don't have the magic pill to change anyone, right?
Okay.
But what I do is I have the ability to honestly, distinctively notice what's going on with them just because of my skill set and my experience.
Okay.
To say that I would have had the ability to change his course of action, maybe not, right? But what I would have done was I would have put my hand on that pulse of what is happening and recognize that something is not right. Because in my etiquette classes, I ask individuals to stand up. Like I teach them how to, present themselves and stand up and say their name as simple as just saying their name. And that young man who had been dealing with whatever trauma he had been dealing with, even saying his name in a level of confidence would have probably indicated to me that something is happening, right? And I would have had a conversation with him. So to say that I would have stopped or I would have, changed the course of his action, I wouldn't put that much on me, right? I don't have that much power.
I understand.
Right, but what I do have is the ability to detect that something is wrong.
Right.
I have the ability to say that something is not right and let's have a conversation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So etiquette means what? Knowing which side the fork and the spoons go on, and like BMW, bread, meal, water, right?
Yes. Awesome.
Is that real? Is that?
Look, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so
bread, meal, and water. Like your bread plate goes on this side, your meal is the big plate in the middle, and your water is on your left, right?
Well, the water is usually on the right. It's the other way around.
Or vice versa, something like that.
Yeah. So is etiquette all of what you just said? Is that your question?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No?
No. It's part of it, right?
Okay.
When I teach my courses, my workshops, I teach, yes, what to do, right? Because I always say to the people that I support is that I'm going to give you the rules of the game, right? Because if you play by the game, then you win. But if you don't know the rules of a game, you automatically get disqualified. Right? And so what I do is I tell and teach individuals how to play the game by giving them the rules. When you walk into a room, how do your nonverbal speaks a lot louder, right? Has more volume than your verbal. Absolutely, right?
Sure.
Individuals don't know that. Some people don't know that, right? It takes 7 seconds. Studies say 7 seconds for someone to make an impression or you to make an impression on someone. 7 seconds for them to think about who they think you are based on your nonverbal behavior.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, very interesting. So my etiquette class is all about teaching individuals confidence, teaching them how to live their best self. And that's what I preach. And that's why I live, and this is what I share. And I believe that if I have the information, I'm going to share it with the world. And I'm not going to always be there. So what I expect you to do is to share it with someone else.
Right.
And that person to share it with someone else.
And that's a good segue back into, and you used a powerful word that we try to use here a lot. You win.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what the show is all about. So sharing information is, once again, something that this show is all about. So I'm glad you've tuned in, because everything that has been shared tonight is for you to use.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can take it back and just utilize it, give it to someone else who may not have tuned in. But it's conversations like these that I believe that we need to start having. And you hit the nail on the head. I'm glad to see that if nothing else, the conversation is starting to be had with our politicians and with the powers that be who have the ability to make the decisions, even all the way up to the drug companies. And we talked about it briefly. However, it's critically important to me because a lot of our kids today are just energetic and happy to be alive and happy to go to school and be around their friends and knowing that they're going to have recess, if recess is still a part of the curriculum now. But kids get a little excited. But I'm hearing that kids are also being targeted as having ADHD, and they're being placed on this Ritalin and these other medications that really just warrants to allow them to grow up a little bit, and that playfulness will grow out.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you also see? Because are you doing anything in the elementary schools in D.C.?
Yeah, I actually had for a very long time, in many cities as well, I helped create clinics, mental health clinics within schools, okay, to primarily support the individuals that are in the schools who are having difficulty problematically, you know, from a behavioral perspective, from an emotional perspective. And so I've seen it on a consistent basis where you have children who are overly diagnosed.
Overly diagnosed?
Yes. Right, because there's a child that you just described many children who are very rambunctious, very energetic, and it's often seen as, oh, he's ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's what the acronym stands for.
That's correct.
Right, and that may not be the case. It may be that the child did not have enough sleep the night before, right? You know, when I work with these families, I ask these pertinent questions. How many hours is your child getting, you know,
sleep? At night.
Yeah. How many hours of sleep are they getting, right? What are they eating? What does their diet look like?
Oh, goodness.
Right?
You've got food deserts all throughout the city. Absolutely. In addition, is the child active in any particular sport? Are they doing something to relieve this energy that's pinned up, right? And if they're answering no to all of these questions, then I say, okay, let's look at changing something and see if you've put all of these things in place and the child continues to have difficulty, then let's look at developing a mental health treatment plan to support that child, right? Sure.
Right? So I think that many of those questions are not being asked, right? And these parents are not sure what to do when they have a child that is very hyperactive and they have an inability to focus, you know, and I do believe that some of my counterparts are, you know, overly diagnosing these children either with ADHD or, you know, disruptive behavioral disorders or, you know, oppositional defiant disorders or even bipolar, which that is kind of like a, you know, like the nail on the board, right? You know, saying that this child who is 8 has bipolar disorder. It's possible, but not all the time, right? We need to look at what's going on in that family. We need to look at what's going on with that child, and then make an accurate and effective diagnosis and treatment plan to support that child.
Wow. Now, is it me or is it just this, the idea or notion that it's all about money?
What do you mean?
It's easy to diagnose and label someone that so that these drug makers can continue to, because the government obviously sets the standard. Right? And there are guidelines that as clinicians you guys have to follow because then your license will be in jeopardy.
In what regard? I mean, I just want to make sure. And you follow the guidelines of what exactly? I know
in other areas of health, doctors can't tell you how to truly cure a disease or a situation that you're dealing with. What they can tell you is what you're dealing with, and then they can prescribe you a medication for it.
It depends on the doctor, right?
Does it?
For me as a clinician, it depends on me as a clinician. I mean, it's not unethical to provide a level of support for an individual and look at their strengths, right? And say, this is what I'm prescribing. Because as a clinician, I am not a psychiatrist, so I don't prescribe medication. But what I do is I support the family or the adult on what are your strengths? What can we support you in? These are some of the options that are available. And it's up to you to make the decision, because ultimately, you decide whether you're going to take that medication. Ultimately, you decide whether you're going to get counseling. And I'm a big proponent of therapy. Therapy is necessary and needed.
So holistic medicines, holistic medications, holistic therapies are not practiced, in my opinion, as often as they should be.
I agree.
And because of that, I think that is where we get to the root cause of these diagnoses and these problems, right?
Right.
So since it is not being discussed, it is not the common practice for a lot of physicians, clinicians, or whatever, they stick to the norm of what, in my estimation, the government states or mandates, and therefore the end result is medication.
Okay.
Is that accurate? Am I off base?
No, you're not. You're not. I mean, I truly, I mean, this is being very transparent. I think that it is something that happens on a consistent basis, right? You know, everyone is shaking hands, right? If we know what that means, right? You know, I shake your hand, you shake my hand, you do this, and then I get this, right? But what I want your viewers to understand is that they have the right to choose. Right? You have the right to choose, and you have the right to be informed, and you do your homework, right? And don't just jump at the first thing that is told to you, right? Because what I find sometimes in our community, right, is that we take what is told to us for gold. Right? And we don't do our own research. All the information is in books. Now everything you can go on Google, right? And you can do your own research, right? And be your own advocate, right? And speak up for yourself and speak up for your children, right? And there are moments when, or incidents or cases where medication is appropriate, right? If someone is delusional and they are hearing voices, right? There are medications that help subside, you know, and subdue those voices so they can be functional, right? Because I don't want to say that medication is not available, not readily available, or medication is it doesn't work, it's not effective. I don't want to stand here and say that, because I've seen cases where people were prescribed the appropriate medication, they were able to live successful and flourishable and wonderful lives.
Wonderful, good.
Yeah, right. But then on the other end, you see individuals who are prescribed medication, they really don't need it.
Right.
Right.
Wow. So that does happen.
Yes, it does. It does. Absolutely.
Even in our kids?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then can we add another caveat to that?
Of
How
course.
about in impoverished neighborhoods? Is it more relevant in our lower income neighborhoods? And
yeah. I mean, this is real talk.
It is real talk.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, you're talking about being overly, you know, prescribed medication, right? And being, you know, overly diagnosed, right? And not, and like you said, food deserts, right? Right? Not having the right fresh foods, fresh fruits and vegetables available, right? And then also not having, you know, the up-to-date books in schools and things of that nature. We know that seems to have happened and has been going on for a very long time. But even when you live in these neighborhoods, and this is why it's so important, that you have the freedom of choice. You have the freedom of choice to provide receive information and then share that information with the others who are overly prescribing this, prescribing this medication to your child, or saying to you that, you know, you don't have any other option when in fact you do.
Great.
Right.
Wonderful. So we've got a couple of minutes left, and Miss Natasha, listen, I am thoroughly appreciate you
Thank
being
you for
here
having
tonight.
me. Thank you.
This was highly impactful, I believe, and an hour really goes fast.
It went by quickly, my God.
You were nervous in the beginning.
I was a little bit, but it's also a little cool in here. So I'm like,
Oh, good. Okay. I really.
was it noticeable?
No. Just leading up to it throughout the day, the emails, the texts, and all that stuff. But I really, appreciate the work that you do.
Oh, thank you.
Because I know that it's needed.
Yes.
And I spent time in those trenches actually for a little more than 2 years. I was with that same agency, and it was partly why I am doing what I'm doing here today, because I noticed that a lot of folks that look like us are struggling, and I believe, as you said, information, right? If they knew better, they would do better.
Absolutely.
And from my own experience, life experiences, and from just individuals that I know, and just whatever I can do, I'm trying to afford them the opportunities to know better. Right. And shows like this are critical. So I super uber appreciate you coming out this evening, and I want to give you an opportunity to just speak to our viewers. And if there's anything else, here's your chance to give out any web addresses, phone numbers, anything that you're doing that you think would be pertinent to our conversation tonight, or anything if you're looking for, because this show isn't about me at all. I'm just providing the platform for our viewers, because in the end we win, right? And that's my goal. I just want to give positive content, provide positive content that we all can use, and so that our lives will just be better as a result of. So if there's anything that you have that you'd like to share with our viewers, please do.
Well, I just want to first say thank you so very much, Mr.
Absolutely.
Curtis Alston, for giving us, or giving me and your viewers, a platform in which to share information. I think you're doing a fantastic job.
I appreciate it.
Right?
Thank you.
You know, and when I received your call, it was a blessing, because I said, this is a conversation that needs to be had, right? And so I just want to give you kudos and commend you for doing what you're doing. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely,
absolutely.
And for those who are listening, I just want to say thank you so much for being available and being present for tonight's interview. It was great having you. And let me just say this, for those who are interested in a workshop, I have upcoming workshops. It's etiquette workshops for men and women who are looking to just gain information about life and presentation. I'm all about women and men and aspiring themselves to be greater than they are at that moment. I also have a YouTube channel that is launching in March. Yay. It's everything that you need to know about etiquette. And I have 4 segments already taped. It is talking about professional etiquette and things to do at work, right? And so I'm looking forward for that. So you will hear from me.
What's the name of it?
So it's actually called The Morning Tea with Etiquette Therapist Natasha Paris, right? And so that is airing actually next month. Well, no, it's March is actually Thursday, right? Is that Thursday, March 1st?
Thursday is the 1st, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be airing at the end of March 2018. So I will be sharing information. My Instagram, if you could follow me, it is Etiquette Coach 4, the number 4, you, okay? And my email address is freedomrevealed@gmail.com, and also my website is natashaparis.com. And I also wanted to mention that
2 minutes.
Yes, 2.
Yeah, you got something else. Go ahead.
I have something else.
Go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. And more than just, sharing information about who you are and being your best self, I also believe that it's so important for individuals to have financial freedom. And I think that that is necessary and that's needed. I partnered up with Mr. Lance London, and it is called Navetica. And if you are interested in starting your own home-based business, please, I would appreciate if you just send me an email. You can also send me an email at Natasha Paris, 1of100@gmail.com. We're talking about the pet industry and also an application. So if you're interested in that, you're like, what? The pet industry? Absolutely. We're talking about individuals becoming their best self and also being who they want to be financially. So I'm excited about that as well. I'm excited about being here and all of the great things that God is doing in my life. And I look forward to being on your show one more time.
Yes, we can make that happen. Definitely. Definitely. So that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Those of you that called in, thank you. I appreciate that. I will be back next week, 8:15 sharp, and I look to once again deliver quality content that you can use. You guys, just have a wonderful week, and I thank you for tuning in to In the End We Win with Curtis. Thank you and good night.
Good night.